It is undeniable that there have been too many questions about the LDM course for teachers, and I'll try to answer some of the questions the best way I can. First and foremost, LDM means Learning Delivery Modalities. What do we mean by learning delivery modalities? By definition, it refers to the means, ways, and resources we use to structure the learning experience and the learning process. When we say LDM, it does not necessarily just mean the modes of learning we use for the new normal. It covers also those methods which we basically use even before the pandemic. And when we talk about the new normal, the LDM we are referring to are those where learning takes place between the teacher and the learners who are geographically remote from each other during instruction. This mode of learning delivery is what we call as DLM, or Distance Learning Modality. Now, what mode of learning delivery do we have in the new normal? In answering that question, let me first give you the different LDMs that we have. In fact, we have 6 modalities. The first one is F2F, or the face-to-face, which is known as the traditional classroom setting. Then we have the MDL, or modular distance learning. Here in this modality, we use printed modules, or SLM, or self-learning modules, which our learners are answering. And then we also have the ODL, or the online distance learning. In this mode of learning delivery, we are using online platforms such as Messenger, Google Classroom, Google Meet, Zoom, and many more. Many other because there are a lot of online platforms that we can use. Then we also have the TVBI and the RBI, which are similar. The TVBI is television-based instruction, so those of which we can watch via television or TV-based distance education programs, while the other one is via radio. So RBI means radio-based instruction. And of course, we also have the BL, or the blended learning. It is a combination of the F2F and any among the other modalities. Now, dealing with the new normal, we can use the MDL, ODL, TBBI, and RBI, except the F2F and BL. Because this F2F and BL, they both are using the face-to-face. Because just like what I said, BL, which is blended learning, is a combination of face-to-face and the other learning modalities. Schools all over the Philippines may choose any of this distance learning. So when we say distance learning modalities, we're talking about the MDL, ODL, TBBI, and RBI. And then so far, our school used not the BL, but the MDL and ODL. Now let us talk about another question that we have in mind. What is the purpose of LDM Course 2 for teachers? The truth is, these course modules were supposed to be given to us before the opening of classes for school year 2020-2021. The time frame, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to be August 2020 because it targets to prepare teachers, and it was schemed also to end by December 2020. Nonetheless, it could still serve its purpose, so let's just look at it that way. And I'll give you some examples of reasons or purpose why we have the LDM Course 2 for teachers. One is for us to be familiar with the LDMs, those that I have given earlier, and learning platforms we think suit our learners. The next is for us to effectively decide on which LDM to use in our school. Then, for us to be able to construct beforehand the materials like modules we need in the new learning process. And I would definitely brag about our division because we were able to come up with modules for our learners. And then next we have this purpose for us to effectively guarantee learning amidst the threat of the unseen enemy, amidst the pandemic. Let's try to deepen our understanding of the LDM Course 2 for teachers by means of answering this question. How can these course modules help us? Of course, we all do want to really know how these modules or these course modules would be able to help us. I'd like you to look at this very simple graphic organizer. As you can see, according to this organizer, the LDM Course 2 is a task-oriented course. Each self-learning module or SLM included in it contains information we need to enhance our knowledge about the things we ought to know as we face the new normal. The questions and activities we would answer individually or collaboratively through LAC sessions will help us understand more what we need to prepare, to expect, to deal with, and to solve as we face the distance learning and as we use the LDM to be adopted by the school for school year 2020-2021. Yes, you heard it right, to be adopted. This LDM was a little late, but just like what I said, you have to look at the brighter side. There is also an advantage because we have already utilized specific distance learning modalities, which are example ODL and MDL. And because of that, we could provide accurate data with regards the assessment of these distance learning modalities. Now, what is really the purpose of this LDM course 2? The reason why we have it is because it aims to guide teachers in what they need to do in the new normal. And of course, what would be our weapon? The best weapon we could use for the LDM Course 2 is our reading skill, accompanied by comprehension skill. And the last question that we have in mind is this one. What are expected from us after we have completed or after we have answered all the questions and activities in each of the 5 modules included in the LDM Course 2 for teachers? What would be next? When we have completely read and answered all the activities and questions in each of the modules, here are the expected outputs. The part 1 is the LDM selection and implementation planning. These are the expected outputs. For module 1, there is actually no output except your answers to the questions included in the module 1. And for the module 2, we have the sample milks unpacking presentation. So you could have this by a LAC session. It depends on your LAC leaders. So which means that teachers have to come up with an example of how to unpack milks into specific objectives. And here are the expected outputs for module 3A. As you can see, there are a lot. But you don't have to worry because each of these outputs would have corresponding discussion also in the module 3A. And then next we have for module 3B and module 4, here are the expected outputs. So just like the other modules, of course, there will also be corresponding explanation or discussion with regards to these outputs. And we will be guided on how we're going to come up with them. For example, the professional development plan. There are two expected outputs: the professional self-assessment questionnaire. The questionnaire consisted of questions about how we use the learning modality that our school selected or adopted, what was its impact to the learners, and what are the things that we have encountered upon using this specific learning modality. Then the next is individual development plan template. This template would only show what interventions do we recommend ourselves to grow professionally. And the most important expected output from teachers would be the LDM implementation portfolio. The Module 5 consisted of the discussion about the teacher's portfolio, the contents of the teacher's portfolio. You can actually see there the list of the things that you are going to include in your portfolio or in our portfolio, which would also include the daily lesson plans, examples of daily lesson plans that we have, or daily lesson logs. It might be different from the lesson plans that we are using during the normal, of course, because we are in the new normal. And then an example of recordings of class instruction that we have kept since we already were done with the first grading and the second grading period. So these are all the expected outputs from us after we have completed the LDM Course 2 for teachers. I'd like to leave you with these 5 lines that I believe we should always tell ourselves every day. I am the best, so we should always put our best foot forward. I can do it, no matter how tough the situation is for us. Never cease to believe in yourself. I am a winner. Remember that even failure means a win-win situation as long as you have learned something from that experience. And never forget to say this to yourself: God is always with me, so trust in Him all the time. Then, always tell yourself, today is my day, and let's claim that every day is our day.